Well, hey there, folks, and welcome back to the big show. Listen, today we're going to dive into some heavy but crucial territory. If you guys have been listening to us for a while, you know Dwayne and I like to keep things light and entertaining, but there are some issues that demand a serious conversation, and the family law is one of them, especially when it comes down to the struggles that fathers face seeing their children. Did you guys know that according to the US Census Bureau, nearly 1 in 3 children in the US now live without their biological family in the home? Crazy. Now, some of you might be asking, well, why is that? In the United States, around 69 to 70% of divorces are initiated by the wife. And when focusing specifically on college educated wives, this percentage skyrockets to 90% of the time the wife files for divorce when she's college educated. Now, the number one reason that wives cite filing for divorce is often related to dissatisfaction with their marriage due to emotional issues like lack of communication, infidelity, financial problems. And among these reasons, emotional dissatisfaction and lack of communication are frequently highlighted as premier factors. Now, to break it down in simplest form, here's how you do it. Basically, women aren't happy. And when they're no longer happy, they're breaking up families. Not my words, not my words. It is literally the reasons that women put down when they file for divorce. Now, the second reason, financial problems. Divorce was largely filed following the loss of his job or his business. Simply put, when the man's not able to bring money into the household, she's gone, filing for divorce. The third issue that women often put down when filing for divorce is infidelity. I hear this constantly. Growing up as a young boy, it was always common to hear of how many men cheat. Men are cheating. I mean, you would think that it's darn near every single one of them cheat. But this topic I researched very, very in depth. As a matter of fact, I researched over 6 sites for this answer. And the surveys all say that married men cheat at a whopping, you ready for this? 20%. That's it. Just 2 out of 10. It's not 7 out of 10. It's not 9 out of 10 like they would probably. I mean, you would think it would be 80% by the amount of women who claim infidelity. You'd be led to believe that all men cheat, but nope, it's 20%. Okay, so anyone want to guess what percentage of wives cheat at? 15%. Nearly the exact same. Now, these stats underscore significant trends in marital dynamics and the reason behind the high divorce rates of divorces filed by women, particularly those with higher education levels. And then let's talk about the infamous silver bullet. Now, for those of you who don't know what the silver bullet is, that's the term for a false allegation of abuse that can completely derail a father's chance of custody or even visitation. It's a grim reality that a lot of dads are battling. And many fathers, many fathers, despite what mainstream wants you to believe, they want to be in their children's lives, but the system is like a maze with no exit. It's like trying to get out of IKEA. It's hard to do. But hey, I'm not alone here discussing this topic. As always, I've got my goofy yet very wise co-host, our good friend. We all know him and love him. Give it up one time for Dwayne Ward.
Hi, everybody.
Probably an expert, or just about as good, as close as an expert as we can get on this subject. Dwayne, listening to what I just kind of said in my opening statements, what is your take on this mess?
I mean, you nailed it pretty good. Basically, when no-fault divorce got passed in 1969 by then Governor Ronald Reagan, that really opened up the floodgates. You saw you can see the stats, the numbers went up super high once they got the man out of the family. The destruction of the family occurred. All the information there. It shows that's exactly what happened. And women are when they file for divorce, the data that we have, it shows that they're leaving because they're unhappy. And pointed out correctly that the college educated women are filing even at a higher rate.
90.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
90%, Dwayne?
It's nuts because and the thing is the way our family courts are set up now is that when the woman leaves, she gets cash and prizes for doing that. We go back. There's so much historical data here, but when a woman files for divorce, she's granted usually 85% of the time nationwide primary custody of the children. They of course get child support, alimony, all the trimmings there, the family home, all of that information, all those assets. Why wouldn't she? When you go back and you look at the black family before the 1970s was hands down the strongest family unit around. I'll debate that with anyone. And after the government stepped in and said, hey, black mothers, if you can get rid of the father, we will give you subsidized housing, welfare, child support, all those things. And they went, sure. It's a hard reality, but the data is there that shows that's what happened, not what we think happened or what we hoped may have happened or hope not have happened. That's what happened. And it's getting worse. They're showing now men are waking up to a degree. We're not reproducing. The pillar of the strong society is the nuclear family, man, woman, children. And the data is coming out now. Well, it's been coming out for a while, but now more major news networks are picking it up that we're not even keeping up with the replacement rate of children. The 2.5 per family, and that's going to spell bad times for the United States. What's funny is when you look at the world and the data that we have all over the world, we have a lot of other countries are more conservative in that area, and they're doing okay in that area now. There's challenges, don't get me wrong, but America leads the single family housing or single family unit worldwide. We're number one of all the things to be number one for. This is not what you want. Yeah, this is not the one that you want.
That's not the trophy we were looking for, Dwayne.
Yeah, no.
But for all of you out there listening live on Facebook and YouTube, you might have noticed that Dwayne and I are not alone, because to hear here we have a special guest, and to help us untangle all this mess, our special guest today, some of you guys might already recognize his face, Robert Garza. Robert Garza, he is an advocate for equality, an expert in false allegations, and a staunch advocate for Texans for judicial accountability. You also might recognize this young man, Robert Garza, from Dr. Phil, or his interviews recently with the National Parents Association. He's also the creator of the Time Taken Back bill in Texas, which, under my understanding, is now part of Texas Family Code 157.168, I believe. Robert, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're really glad to have you. I follow you on Facebook. I know that you're an active part of the community. You're a big, huge advocate for fathers' rights, and I've been a fan of yours for quite some time now. It was about 4 or 5 days ago, a week ago or so, I saw a posting that you did on social media where you were recently on Dr. Phil, and I was like, man, you know what? We got to get this guy on the show. So reached out to you, you obliged, and here you are, man. So really, really happy to have you on the show. And it seems like people in the comment section have already recognized who you are. They are surprised and happy that you're part of the big show today. So, and my understanding too is that you and Dwayne have a little history, right? You guys know each other?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've known Dwayne for a couple of years now. I watch your show. I watch all the shows, anything to do with parental rights or children's, and so everything's all good. Yeah.
I was like, hey, a real celeb. Can you pull that back up?
Yeah. Jules is like, hey, Dwayne and Jimmy finally got their act together and brought on a real celebrity. I mean, Dwayne, are we just like, are we minced meat here or something?
I know it kind of hurts my feelings.
Whatever. I'm just a normal parent, just like you all are. I just went through family court, just came out the other side. Still in it, but now I see that there's ways that you can change the laws, and you can really affect legislation if you put your mind to it.
Well, let's jump right in. Let's jump right into it, because I don't know the entire story that you have, Rob, but I have a feeling that it's probably a good one. So let's start with your journey, if you don't mind. I know a little bit about your past, and my understanding is that your interest in father's rights was inspired by what you personally had to go through after a divorce from your first wife. Help us understand what fired your passion. Tell us what happened in that marriage, but more importantly, were there any false allegations that prevented you from seeing your kids after that divorce?
So the divorce was amicable. It literally cost us about $1,000 to get divorced. We didn't really fight over anything. Uh, you know, in Texas, you have about 30 days to go back after assets after a divorce. I didn't know this. And so she played good for about 30 days after the divorce. And in the divorce, I got joint custody, first right of refusal, all across the board. Everything was all good. And so no child support because I let go of marital assets and stuff in her company and everything else during that time. And just because it was a tipping point and she was the mother of my kids. So got divorced. 30 days later, had police at my door, serving me with protective orders, restraining orders. Then it was on, and here we are today to a 15-year custody battle so far. It took me about 10 years. Yeah, 15 years of going through it. But in the whole time, all 15 years, I've never been, I've always been a fit parent. And so I've always been a joint managing conservator all 15 years. They've never taken my parental right as far as that goes away. But with the false allegations, they take your parental right on a precaution, but they always gave the kids back. And
so are you saying that your ex filed false allegations? Is that what you're saying?
She didn't herself. It was all done by proxy. And the reason I didn't want to tell people this because they could kind of abuse the system until I was able to learn how to fix it. And so my bill actually fixes that flaw in the code. And so she was able to go to a mandatory report that I was doing whatever it was, like starving, dehydrating at first, the kids. And then that mandatory reporter would report it to CPS. CPS would open an investigation. And as soon as they opened the investigation the next day, she would call, get the case number, go get a protective order restraining order, emergency protective order restraining order. And most of these were on big holidays, right before my weekend, and like literally at 5 o'clock or 4:45, or right before on a Friday before I pick up the kids or whatever. So I couldn't go file in court to stop it. So it was very strategic. Wow. Yeah. And the crazy part is, and I'm glad that everybody's watching this. And if you're going through any of these, it's not good to try and get into court before that allegation is ruled out. I spent tens of thousands of dollars doing that because I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go into court, tell the judge what's going on. This is BS, whatever. Yeah. But as long as there's an open CPS investigation, then they can't really give you the children back.
Is CPS Child Protective Services? Is that what it stands for?
Yeah. Yeah. It's Child Protective Services. Yep.
Technically.
And there's this little red spot. That's the sun coming in. Anyway.
That's a laser pointer from somebody that doesn't like you.
That's his ex. That's his ex. I'm going to finish this one off.
So that's funny though. Look at that. I'll try to put it off. Anyway. So, the CPS, well, put it this way. So the mandatory reporter thought they were doing things right. CPS thought they were doing things right. The judge thought they were doing things right, but they got it all wrong. And so I was able to figure out a way with this time taken, time back bill to discourage those false allegations and people making those. And in doing so, it returned the resources back to CPS, back to the court system where you're not running in there with protective orders, restraining orders, or false ones. And it was able, CPS investigations through the whole US, there's only about 15 to 18% that are reason to believe. The rest of them are unfounded BS, pretty much.
Very timely filings. Isn't it weird how that happens?
It's always on that first, third, and fifth a lot of the times. And it's right before a big holiday. And if you look at those statistics, it goes way up. So
wow.
now,
wow. You know, I have never in my life ever heard of this until I locked arms with Dwayne and Eric on the Dad Talk Today channel. I had no idea any of this ever happened.
Most people don't. That's kind of what I wanted to kind of ask. And you're kind of walking through it. I wanted to, you know, have you kind of go back, and when you first got involved in the family court system, like when you walked in, you know, what were you thinking? I mean, I walked in thinking I'm Matlock, you know, this is a Matlock situation for the old people out there, and the law is going to prevail. They're going to weigh the evidence and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, what was your personal experience, and then maybe jump forward to what made you go, time taken back, Bill? Well, it's time.
So I thought the law was going to prevail in the end, and I guess it does, you know, but it shouldn't cost a fit parent in Texas $700,000 to keep what you have. Wow. And the crazy part is my ex has spent over $1 million trying to take the kids from me.
Hold on a second.
And in doing so, the law firm that she has, you know, you keep thinking these lawyers are going to do whatever. They can file stuff on anybody, doesn't matter. But in doing so, you're going to put that child through hell. You're going to upset, you know, you're going to do damage that you're not going to be able to fix. So you need to love your children more than you hate your ex.
Right.
And that is a huge, huge, huge thing that you need to understand, because that hatred that you're feeling, you're about to spit that all over your kids and everyone else around you. So the time taken, time back bill actually gives all those resources back. But in doing so in CPS, hopefully, not even hopefully those numbers will rise, but I hope those numbers don't rise, but it will give those resources back. Like in my case, they took 43 investigations, not only of CPS, but also the district attorney's office in 2 different counties wasted their resources investigating false allegations. And this time taken, time back bill will hopefully return those resources back to those agencies and unstop the court system. And
put them where they need to be.
That are really being hurt. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, so the time taken, time back bill, what it does is when they give the child back, because every time I went into court, I asked for the time back, you know, when they were returning the child.
So Christmas time.
Yep.
For example, so Christmas time.
Yep. And so we wanted the time back, and the judge was like, let's just move forward. You know, we did it on precaution. So I came out with this bill to return those resources and to discourage those false allegations, because when you return the child, you return the time.
Yeah.
So to better explain that part, if say I was picking up Christmas, so if you're supposed to get your kids on Christmas Day, and the funny thing happens, this bill now a law in Texas, what'll happen is that you'll get next Christmas back.
Correct. You'll get 2 Christmases in a row. And I coined the term holiday hijacking for lawyers to use in their pleadings, for the judges to understand. So when you're going through this and it's a holiday, put it in your pleadings, holiday hijacking, and judges gonna be like, what's this? But when you explain it to them, they're gonna be like, wow. Then they'll get it, that it's done just to hijack your holiday, and it's false allegations. Craziness. So try that one.
So want to give a couple shout outs. It looks like we have Chuck Dizzle on. Chuck, it's good to see you again. Chuck went through a lot of this similar type of BS. We got Jeremy B on, Michael Keller with his new avatar. We see it, Mike. We see it. Joy Flamer's on. Hey, Joy, she's all the way in New York, I think, right now. So she's in the Eastern time zone, not the Central. And Julez, of course, is on. We got a bunch of people on today, which is good to see. Let's see who else. And we got some questions for you, Robert. Jeremy B asked, here it is. Jeremy B asked, so what is the appropriate response when CPS comes knocking on the door?
I think just tell them talk to your lawyer. Tell them talk to your lawyer. You want to know what the allegations are. You don't want to invite anybody into your home. But that's just, and let me say this so I can rewind it. Anything I say is my own opinion. I'm not an attorney, and I'm just giving you what I've been through in my personal experiences.
Just 3 guys talking, just shoot the breeze.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would not answer the door, or I would answer it and be like, hey, here's my attorney's phone number, talk to them. If you don't have an attorney, say, I need your number and I'll give my attorney your phone number.
Gotcha. The second question comes from Joy, and she says, what do these women hope to achieve by doing this? They're only hurting the children. How sad that some women behave like this. Shame on them. It should be considered child abuse on the mother's part.
It is. And it's the worst kind of abuse. It's psychological abuse when you're doing this to a child. It's also physical abuse when you're taking them to doctors and having things checked and everything else too. So if you're running the whole gamut and then you're having your child questioned by professionals on and off, it really screws with them, because imagine putting a kid in front of Jaws, watching the movie. An hour and a half later, you're like, hey, you want to go to the beach? You go throw that kid in the ocean, he or she is going to scream their head off. And this is what you're doing to your child. There you go. Put some sound effects in there.
Was that a shark?
There you go. Yeah. I got my soundboard working, so prepare.
Yeah. So I would say absolutely not. If you're even thinking about doing this to your child, I can tell you from personal experience, do not do it. Don't do it. It will ruin your relationship in the end. I mean, there's a girl right now, it's on social media. They went through this for 20 years and found out that, it was her mom doing this to her. And now she has no relationship with her and is building the one with the dad. Why would you ruin 20 years of your relationship with your child? And then, or even try to think that you're gaining it. And then you're going to live the rest of your life regretting it because they're not going to talk to you anymore. And they found out what you did.
And that's what happens. A lot of times what happens is they were playing their games and time catches up, and they're going to sit down. They're going to reach out to the other parent, the dad, and ask the questions, and then find out that it was mom or the other parent doing all these games for all these years. And then they say, I don't want anything to do with my other parents anymore. And they lost all that time.
And you want to be able to blame them because it's morally wrong.
Yeah.
Jewel says that she loves talking about the time taken back. And she wishes it was a law in all 50 states. Hopefully it will be one day. It's almost, in my opinion, it's just common sense to make that into law, to be honest.
So let me explain a little bit of things about the thing too. So on the time taken, time back bill, it can go federal because they're violating your Fifth Amendment right for due process. They're violating your 14th Amendment right for care, custody, and control of your child on a precaution. Family courts cannot do this. It's against they're violating your constitutional rights. But if they're going to do it, that's why I came out with this time taken, time back bill, because when they weren't giving me that time back with my children after they ruled it out, they're violating it twice. And so it was insult to injury. And so I had to figure out a way to do that. And if you want to take it in your state, you can reach out to me on Facebook. You can message me and I'll send you the bill. Just take that bill to your legislator, your House rep or your senator, and say, look, they passed this in Texas, bipartisan and unanimous. So whether they were Republican or Democrat, they voted for it, for the bill to go through, and our governor signed off on it on Father's Day.
So help the new ones like myself, the newbies, the noobs, kind of understand a little more as we talk specifically about custody battles. These false allegations, Robert, or the silver bullet, it sounds like it's a massive issue. Can you explain how these allegations typically affect fathers in these custody battles?
Yes. So a silver bullet is basically, all it takes is one to put you under the 8 ball, and a lot of people can't even recover from it. That's why they're called silver bullets. I went through 43 plus of these, never arrested, never convicted. They were all false. I can tell you that, when you have your child taken away from you like that, and a lot of these parents can understand this, that it's like you're grieving the loss of a living child. Yeah. And that if you've never had that done to you, that's the closest thing I can tell you can explain to somebody. You can tell them that, have you ever lost your kid in a store, and that panic, that fear, think about doing that 24 hours a day, nonstop, wondering where your child is, don't know what's going on. And then if there's false allegations, then you're wondering, okay, does this child believe that? Are they trying to convince them, brainwash them? I mean, basically you're torturing your child. Someone's torturing your child by doing this. And it's just a lot of feelings and everything that go through your head. So.
Well, I mean, I'll speak to Texas here specifically, and it happens all over the country, all over the world. But in Texas, one of our associate attorneys, district attorneys, Leslie Levy, she talked about the silver bullet in her own way, and I know this will probably garner it, but again, the video's out there for all to watch. Is that she said that if you were to put false allegations up there, then that will help you. I believe this is a quote. This will give you the leg up in divorce proceedings. And that's where that 85 to 90% false allegations come up.
So we have a lot of huge advocates in Texas. I think it's one of the strongest states for advocates that we have. And so I think now judges and lawyers are coming around. Hopefully there's going to be this big pushback against this stuff, because in the end, you're just hurting the children. And when they understand now they're seeing the effects of it, because there's been too many of us that have gone through it. And so, with so many people going through it, you have to understand that this is not good for children. And so I think with the new stats and everybody else in all the other states going through this, they're seeing the effects of it. I was able to get in front of a couple of CLE classes, which is continuing education for lawyers and judges, and being able to educate them on the time taken, time back bill, but also the effects of what they're doing to the children. It's not, and there again, if you give them the benefit of the doubt and you're in a courtroom and they can only hear your side 20 minutes and the other side 20 minutes with objections and whatever else, you already know if you've been in a courtroom, you're not getting everything that you want to say out. They see bits, snippets of pieces of your life, and they can make the best decision on that, which is not the best decision for your kids, I promise you. Yeah. So the best decision is for you and your ex to work it out. But if you have a crazy one, and there are crazies out there, you're going to end up in court for years and years and years. And no matter what you get or what they get, they can always resue you for whatever it is that you want.
Yeah, let's brag about Robert here a little bit. I know you're very humble, but through your efforts and the things that you did, keeping sane through 43 allegations and everything else, you were invited on at least 2 separate occasions. I'm aware of to these CLE. These are continuing education courses for lawyers, Texas lawyers. And the second time you were the first time I think was like, hey, who's this guy? Let's get him in here. The second time was, we want Robert Garza to give a speech and talk about this stuff. I don't want to steal too much of the thunder here, but Rob, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was invited to Austin.
Invited.
Yeah, and as one of the keynote speakers, there was only 2 other people besides me. One of them was Ashish, and he does parental alienation litigation and all over the country, and he's well known. And another one, Dr. Barnett, and he's trying to get parental alienation diagnosed into the DSM. And he's been doing this for about 20 years. Super knowledgeable people. I was very honored to be able to speak on the same podium they did. And
yeah, it was a great, it was streamed. I think it's still out, or it's out there. You can download and watch it. It was a really good event. So I wanted to kind of jump around a little bit here with, so when you went through this, it was pretty much you trying to learn this as you went. You were trying to pay the mortgage, put gas in the car, food on the table, see your kids, not see them at Christmas time, that type of stuff. So you had to learn this stuff on your own. What types of things are out there for fathers, mostly fathers? I mean, I know it does impact women too, but largely it impacts fathers. But what type of resources are out there nowadays, or now, for parents? Almost be nice to say parents.
There's an app called it's on the Pissed Off Parent page.
Who's that guy?
That's right. But they have. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, if you go to the Pissed Off Parent, there's a lot of educational things that you can use. You've been very good in putting a bunch of stuff for especially pro se parents. But it's not in, there's different laws in different states. So be careful what you're using.
Right.
But yeah, if you can't afford an attorney, the law library is good. I've went in pro se and filed my own stuff. I had to let go one of my attorneys because I even told them I was going pro se, and they're like, well, the court reporter or the court person was saying that, it's not, well, I see you have an attorney. So I had to go to the law library for $2, get something to release my attorney to go pro se. So there's all kinds of stuff. If your attorney doesn't want to get off, you can just remove them with one letter. So you just file it into your case.
Yeah.
So while I'm thinking about everybody, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for everybody who's already pushed a like button. But if you haven't yet, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you don't mind, move on over to the Big Show by Jimmy Smith and subscribe to Dwayne and my page over there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And yes, Mike, I saw your comment in the section. You and I still have the same amount of followers, but I will beat you one day. Oh, and Mike, I did show you mercy on. I noticed that last week you did spell that wrong. You did, but I showed you mercy, Mike. Do you see the kindness of my heart? Don't ever forget that. Wait a minute. Is that his new avatar, the vulture? Is that what it is? It's very suiting. Okay. Very suiting. But so I have a question because it intrigued me whenever you were on Dr. Phil. So you were on Dr. Phil, and you were also interviewed by the National Parents Association. I want to know how these platforms have kind of helped to raise awareness about the issues that fathers face. Before we jump into it, though, I want to show everybody what I'm referring to. This is Robert Garza on the Dr. Phil show. Take a look.
On Dr. Phil Primetime. We're talking about something that could affect half of America. That means you, hundreds of thousands of children.
There are a lot of judges who've never practiced family law who take the bench.
These custody cases reveal a national crisis. Now, Lonnie headed back to the courtroom to find out why two fathers say their battle for their children was like facing off with an organized crime syndicate.
Do you feel that the system in the family law courts is corrupt?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would say it's organized crime. It's like a mafia. I like to call it the state-sanctioned destruction of the family.
A parent can make a false allegation against the other one, and they immediately can go to court and get a protective order, restraining order based on that allegation. A lot of people call them silver bullets because it only takes one to basically win custody.
How much has this whole process ended up costing you financially?
2.5 years ago, I quit keeping track, and 2.5 years ago it was about $700,000. Overall, I lost about 3.5 years with my children.
We would like audio and video cameras added to the courtrooms, and we would like to lower the immunity barrier. Currently, judges have absolute immunity, and where there is no accountability, you're going to have corruption. Judges should actually be held to a higher standard instead of no standard at all.
Well, we have three high-powered pros here tonight.
Really cool stuff. So, you were on Dr. Phil, you were interviewed by the National Parents Association. So how has some of these platforms, this bandwidth, if you don't mind, how has that kind of raised awareness about the issues that fathers are facing?
I hope it raises a lot of awareness. I mean, that's the whole reason I'm doing it. I'm not getting paid for this. Eric, about 1.5 years ago, Eric Carroll and I hit the road and during COVID or whatever, 2 years ago, and we went to 40-something states just to legislate, and asked constituents to meet us at their state capitals. Went in there, talked to the senators, the House reps, just knocked doors the whole time, and then we found out, that got some traction. But then we found out when we did the John Mast video, I Stand With John, that really got awareness out a lot faster and in a lot more homes and a lot more eyeballs. So then Eric started doing that route, and then we started going to different places and doing documentaries. But at the same time we were doing those, I was still in the background doing a lot of this legislation stuff. And so I was door knocking all my people too, and trying to get things done. It's not as easy as you know, you see me on here, whatever, but what you don't see is what's done in the background. There's so much legwork, so many phone calls. If you notice, I've never mentioned my ex's name, the judge's name, or the attorney opposing counsel's name or anything, because it's not about them. It's not about an individual. This is about a system that needs to change. And there's a lot of changes that need to come and be updated. But I've tried to figure out where these problems start. And a lot of the problems that start with parental alienation is hijacking their kids the time and having that time to brainwash them. So that time taken, time back gives that time back to repair that parental bond when it was broken. And the new law or the new bill I'm coming out with in Texas is called it's a 3-strike policy. And so when the officer goes out there and you call him and he says, hey, are you gonna give him the kids? He's not gonna make the kids go, but if your ex is interfering, he's gonna say, here's your $500 fine. See you later. Next time, another $500 fine. Third time, it's a state jail felony, which it already is in every state. It's just the district attorney's office. And here's a lot of the lead work I did in the background too, is I figured out that the district attorney's offices in every city, doesn't matter, don't want to put a parent in jail because they don't know if it's the first time, second time, or at least that's the excuse they were giving. Yeah. And so in Dallas County, they told me exactly the process of it. They said, okay, when a policeman goes out, and this works the same in all of your states. When a policeman goes out, you have to tell them that it's not a civil matter, because a civil matter's in court. It's a criminal matter. Under 25.03 in Texas, it's a criminal matter, and the policeman has to take the report because you are reporting a crime. Once you report that crime, it goes to another detective in the youth division because it has to do with kids, and then it goes to the district attorney's office after they find probable cause. Then it goes to a grand jury, and then they choose to indict or not indict. Now, with no history and all this other stuff, there's always, variables or whatever. But now with this 3-strike policy, when the cop goes out, you're saving all these resources. There's no other person having to investigate it. There's no other person having the DA, you're saving all these resources at the same time and getting something done when it goes out. So it will solve a lot of these problems. It's on the first time. So it's an amazing bill.
Yeah, I hope it definitely gets passed. I do want to go back to the time taken back a little bit. Actually, Jimmy, can you roll that beautiful bean footage on the time taken back bill? Maybe leave the sound off and kind of want to talk to it, because this was an amazing thing, especially for the equal shared parenting community. Boy, it looks like whoever your ex is or whatever has got you in your eye. Yeah, I mean, but you got to. That's Angela Paxton. I mean, you took it from being a father that had been going through, well, let's just say hell, and you decided to turn that pain into purpose. You pushed forward. You finally, got in front of our legislators and worked to do that. And this right here is the actual committee where they were talking about. You got to testify, and you actually, I don't want to say a surprise guest, but you actually had support from a very unlikely in our community area. I don't know if you want to kind of talk through some of this. Actually, this is you talking about what you had faced.
Yeah, so it was very scary. It's probably one of the hardest things that I've had to do, because while you're in there, it's very echoey. And see that little green thing in front of you? That's a timer, and it has a countdown for 2 minutes. So I'm sitting here thinking in my head that I have 2 minutes to get this out, or else I'm going to fail the American citizens, because I knew what this bill could do for all Americans. And I could literally hear my heartbeat. It's echoey. All these senators and House reps are looking at me, and I know if I can't get this out in time that I failed. And so you have no idea the gravity of what that feels like.
The pressure.
Yeah. Oh, I will tell you this. I do some of my best work within 2 minutes. Just saying.
5 seconds, but whatever.
Right. Well, apparently I did mine too, to see. But the crazy part is, so Senator Paxton came and sat beside me because I kind of got choked up when I started testifying.
Yeah.
And that gave me all the confidence in the world. When she came, I refocused myself but you can see how far she walked across to come to sit by me. That one act of kindness was more than, I can't even tell you how much I owe her for doing that, because I could get out the rest of it. It caused me to refocus. So,
well, I want to talk about the selflessness part of it, because I want to hit this home. I mean, I already know this. I just like to hear it said out loud. This bill, all the work that you did not benefit you personally in your individual situation. No. All of this basically is going to fix and help other children in Texas. Yes. I just want to highlight that the selflessness, I am here to do the right thing. I am here to make it better for everybody else, knowing that you'll never see a benefit. You'll see a benefit of this when you're, as your kids get older and their kids and all that down the road, and seeing the joy on other kids and families that are going to benefit from this. But you personally, you're never going to see anything from this.
No, not unless there's another false allegation. Well, but that's why
45.
My ex won't do it again. So found other loopholes like interference with child custody. And so when that happened to me, I was like, okay, how do I fix this? So here we are fixing that also this session.
You can also.
So one thing in my bill that I did was I could have retroed it, and it would have included me, and I could have gotten my three plus something years with my kids back, but it would have stopped up the family court system. And I didn't want to do that, just because that's not why I was doing the bill. I was doing it to clean up the family court, the DA, the CPS. That way they could investigate kids really being hurt.
You saw the big picture.
Yeah.
And
yeah, definitely.
Let me show a video that I have here for the time taken back bill.
Texas parents getting back lost time with their children thanks to a new law. But what does lost time mean? Some Texas fathers are helping us understand. Here's the story.
About 12 years of family court, 43 plus false allegations.
Robert Garza says his ex-wife used false accusations to keep their children away from him. Then in March this year, he testified in front of the Texas Senate as a dad and as a parental rights advocate.
I chose to come out with a bill called Time Taken, Time Back. It was in the Texas Senate, and it was SB 718.
This Texas law by Senator Angela Paxton will give non-custodial parents back lost time with their children, the same amount of time wrongfully taken away in divorce court orders.
The other thing that it does is it disincentivizes the person making a false allegation in the first place.
It could be a silver lining for many divorced Texas fathers fighting to stay in their kids' lives. Some say they're experiencing parental alienation, which according to the National Center for State Courts, is when one parent intentionally displays to a child unjustified negativity aimed at the other parent.
I have no contact with my sons at all. I don't know their status. I don't hear from them. I actually didn't even know where my sons lived.
Dad of two, Jeff Younger's custody case has been under national spotlight. He says his ex-wife has been transitioning his then 8, now 11-year-old son James into a girl. He says earlier this year, a Texas judge let her move to California with his sons.
Stripped me of all notification requirements. I'm never notified of any medical, education, or anything.
It's right after California began its new sanctuary law to allow parents from restrictive states to flee there and transition their children legally.
My ex-wife is currently enjoined from doing any kind of hormone treatments or surgeries on my son because Texas is a state which does not allow affirming surgeries. California will never repatriate my sons to Texas.
Joseph Villarreal says his ex-wife filed restraining orders against him with false allegations. He just wants to see his son again.
It's been 3 years. I've heard his voice 3 times. I've seen a picture of him twice.
These Texas fathers are standing behind a nationwide parental rights movement. Advocate Jeffrey Morgan says in many cases, family courts are not putting children's best interests at heart.
The best place for the children is to be reared with both parents together in the same home. They need both parents.
I came from a broken household. I had no business being around my father whenever I was a kid. As a grown man now, I can see the impact that it had on me.
Morgan also says divorce hurts a child's overall well-being and future.
Who's more likely to join a gang? Who's more likely to drop out of school? Who's more likely to never even hit college or the ladder of success? These are children of divorce or children that come into being out of never formed families.
The law will take effect September 2023. Parents across the state hope it can shed light on their fight against false allegations and parental alienation. NTD News, Texas.
Wow. Awesome job, man. Awesome job. So, the judicial accountability is another critical area that you focus on. What changes do you believe are necessary in the family court system to ensure fairness for all parties involved?
So the biggest one that I feel, in my opinion, that Texans for Judicial Accountability is doing is the cameras in the courtroom. Cameras in the courtroom will clean up a lot of this mess by keeping everybody honest. Cops didn't used to have body cams. Now they do. It cleaned it up. I mean, I've talked to Supreme Court Justice, and he said, I have no problem with it. Like, he's like, it's gonna piss off the people that are doing wrong, and it's going to make the judges that do things right, that they get falsely accused of, to be able to be like, hey, let's rewind the tape. What they said I did was wrong, and it will hold both parties accountable. So the Supreme Court Justice was like, look, if I'm not doing anything, that thing in my courtroom is a time saver, life saver. I'll have less people making accusations against me also. So it's for both parties. It's not just just for litigants.
Yeah, excellent job.
Yeah, that's the biggest one, I think, the Texans. But Texans for Judicial Accountability is doing amazing things. There's also a movie that everyone should watch that if they haven't watched, it's called We the Parents. That's where Dr. Phil found me at. It's about several families that went through the same thing that you're going through. You can actually send that out to a couple of your relatives if they don't understand what you're going through. And after seeing that, it was well done.
That was a good video.
Elizabeth and Mike McNeese did a great job with that documentary. It just released, I don't know, maybe several months ago, and it's circulating out there. So it's a good one.
So kind of, I guess, bottom shelving it or putting it out there for everybody. What can parents do that are going through this, that want to learn more about it, that want to advocate? I mean, you're kind of still in it a little bit. I'm out of it officially. I mean, all the things I do now are my kids have aged out. I want change, and I want things to be better for parents. It's going to impact my kids, but as far as me personally, it doesn't impact me. I'm not going to see any benefits directly in my pocketbook or whatever now. But what can parents that are going through it, what can they do to advocate? What can they do to get involved? Parents that aren't involved, what are some things that are out there for them?
So to get involved, if you have your own ideas, then take them to your state senator or your House rep. If you do not have an idea and you just want to tell them about your issue, stay away from them. Don't go throw up on them. Do not call them. It is making it harder for people that do have solutions to be able to get in there, like me, or other advocates, because they think we're going to go just throw up on them. That's not the case. I walked into, LULAC, which is like the Latin version for NAACP and ACLU. Right. It literally took me 15 seconds. I said, look, when the family court's taking your parental right away on a precaution and they're not returning that time, is that an issue? And they're like, yeah, it's a human rights issue. They can't take your human rights away on a precaution. You have to be found guilty before they could do that. And I'm like, thank you. That's how fast it took me to get them to be like, yeah, of course, that's what it is. So it was a human rights violation and a constitutional violation. So you have to know what you're talking about and get it out very quickly, because you're going to lose people with the sky was blue, the grass was green, she did this, that. Like, sum it up very fast. I went through 43 plus false allegations, never once convicted or arrested, spent $700,000 in family court, still there advocating and trying to pass laws. Done.
Yep. Bullet point.
Man.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
I honestly am shocked. I cannot believe that you've lost so much time with your children, so much money that you could have used to give to your children once you pass, a legacy, if you will, money for your retirement that now you don't have. And now that your ex doesn't have as well, because she spent just as much money fighting you.
No. She just sold her company for tens, 100 million, something like that. So she has plenty of money. She's not worried about that.
Gotcha.
But she keeps refiling because, you know, in family court, you can keep doing it. It's a game. I will tell you to pick your battles. A lot of y'all's decrees schools coming up. So if your decree says exclusive school rights or doctor's rights, that doesn't mean that your ex has those exclusivity to tell you to stay away from the school or tell you when to go to the school or when to go to the doctor or when not to talk to the doctor. You have parental rights that even if they have exclusive, that you can go to the school, go volunteer at the school. You have that right. And as long as you're not having, as long as you don't have a protective order, restraining order, you can get more time with your kid on their time. Go to lunch. The more frequent that you see your children, even if it's 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, that will break up that parental alienation, and it'll cause it not to stick. Only if they can hijack, 30 days at a time or more will parental alienation stick if they know what they're doing. So, and brainwashing. Like I told you, Jaws only took an hour and a half to scare the hell out of a kid to never even get in an ocean again.
Exactly. 5 minutes.
That's true. So
I'm a Gen Xer. It took me like 5 minutes of listening to Jaws, and I still can't go in the bathtub and take a bath.
You know what I was always afraid of? Piranhas.
Oh, that piranha movie. Yeah.
Piranhas.
I thought it was gonna be more of that and quicksand. Those are the things of my youth that I always thought was gonna be more of an issue. But
I haven't stepped in any quicksand ever, and I've never been munched on by a piranha at all. Now, sharks, I mean, that's legitimate, but I agree with you, man. I thought that quicksand and piranhas would be a much bigger issue for us when we grew up. It's pretty much a nothing burger. But Robert, I want to ask you a question, man. I mean, we talked about a lot of adversity that you've went through, a lot of pain. How's life now? What are your passions at this stage of your life now? Have you found a new love? Are you single? Are you now married? What's going on with Robert Garza now?
Yep. So I've been married through this for about 10 years. In fact, the allegations had stopped for a little while, for about 6 months. And then when I told my ex I was getting married, all of a sudden, here they went again, like full force.
What?
They never stopped. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So be very careful. What? Yep. The other thing is, so what you have to do is, if you know you're going through this, get a bunch of friends around. I had dinner nights at my house. Tuesdays were pretty hard because it was kind of in the middle of the week. So I had Tuesday dinner nights to kind of break it up, and had friends over every Tuesday. They just knew to come over. I'd cook something. That was great. My wife and I, if you follow my Facebook, we have a lot of friends. We go dancing, we go salsa dancing, we travel. You have to date your wife. You just have to go to the movies, go out to eat. We don't even spend that much money. I mean, we have great friends that have boats that we can go with, and it's theirs. And, that own property, that have like a zoo, Airbnbs. And so we go play with their animals, and, you just enjoy life, get out of the darkness that you're in, and just enjoy it. You have to be okay for your kids, and don't ever talk to them about the litigation. I know it seems counterintuitive, but I promise you it will make it stick even worse. Don't do it. And they come over looking for the behaviors. So if, let's just say, I don't know, your ex is saying that you're violent or you're angry, then if you raise your voice, then all of a sudden it triggers them, like, oh, here's that monster, right? And so that would be an issue when you do that, because your kids are, they get triggered by it. So, I mean, that's not an issue for me because my kids will tell you I've probably raised my voice 5 times in their whole life. Even if I get angry or upset, I mean, you can talk about it. You don't have to yell at them. I say I'm disappointed or give them choices or whatever, but
No, you meet them where they are, and just kind of keep loving on them.
Yep.
Now,
that
also
that was a cool day.
Oh yeah, that
President
one.
Trump, yeah. So I mean, this whole journey's been crazy. I think everyone's trying to fix the system in all different ways. Eric's fixing it, documentaries and awareness. I'm trying to help do it with legislation. Jennifer Lundy's doing it with, Texans for Judicial Accountability. You have other people making documentaries, and I think everyone's getting the awareness out. And when in the end, you're only hurting the children. When you can't work through your own crap, you're just hurting the children. I've tried staying out of family court for the last 3 years since we went to final trial, but it seems to keep drawing you back in there. She filed, and so now I have to go defend it, and it's just crazy.
Well, there's another resource available that you're involved with, which is the Dad Talk Today support group, a free area. So if people are having, I thought a few people that say they don't have any friends, knowing them, and I can understand why, but they can go to the Dad Talk Today support group, get signed up there. It's a free service. You can ask questions. Actually, we ask that they be questions only, not statements or talking about other things there. It's there. We keep that filter pretty clean so that someone can ask a question that, they're hey, I'm missing my kids. What can I do? That type of stuff. And I know, Robert, you're involved with that quite a bit and can offer assistance. But that's a free resource out there that the Dad Talk Today community has for people that are needing help. I don't know if you wanted to mention anything else about that.
Yeah. Dad Talk Today support group. So there's Dad Talk Today, and then there's Dad Talk Today support group. Still Eric Carroll's, but the support group is private, and so we try to keep your exes out and whatever else. If we find one, we kick them out very fast. So just be mindful. That's right. There's all kinds of help that you can get. If you need a therapist, I have a friend that is a therapist, and they're out of subpoena range, more than likely from them. And so if you really just need someone to talk to, throw up, she said that she'll discount the rate. Of course, everyone needs their money to fight in family court. So whichever one you think's more important, do that. There's all kinds of help that you can get. Definitely just get a friend. I mean, I used to go to the movies a lot. Like when I would get in my head, I would just literally go to Studio Movie Girl. And my wife's like, well, what did you do this afternoon? I was like, I want to go watch, I don't know, Transformers. And she was like, oh, okay. But I would go eat, have some food, watch a movie, come out, and it made me get out of my head for a little bit. It was something different. Go for a walk, go ride bikes. You literally have to take care of your mental health first to be there for your children. And as you can see, I've been going through this for 15 years, and I would hope to think that I've come out of it okay, but you still get PTSD and whatever from it. When we try to help other families going through this, like you all probably, when you hear this stuff, it actually triggers us. And so when you want to talk to me on the phone and I call you and I'm like, hey, you're preaching to the choir, just tell me where you're at and let's figure out what your next steps are. Because if not, you're emotionally throwing up on me and other people that you're talking to, and just realize they don't want to hear that stuff. So just keep it short, get to the point, and talk about it.
Yeah. Well, Robert, your work it's incredibly inspiring, and it's clear that the system needs some serious changes. The role of fathers in children's lives is vital, and too often the system works against them, and it leads to the parental alienation and a lack of meaningful father-child relationships. And we need more advocates like you pushing for fairness and accountability. It's about time that we start recognizing the importance of fathers and ensuring they have a fair chance to be a part of their kids' lives.
Thanks. I do want to do a couple of notes, though. So when Eric and I were traveling one time in Baltimore, Maryland, there was this guy that raised his hand to talk, and we were asking what they needed. Really poor, really bad part of Baltimore. And he said he needed a role model. And I was like, whoa, it hit me at that point. He said that he doesn't know what a father should be. You keep telling him to be one, but he never had one. So he doesn't know what that looks like. And it hit me. I'm like, wow, it's like if something's wrong with your car and I give you tools and say, here, fix it. You don't even know where to begin, even though you know what a mechanic is, you know what the hammer is and whatever, but you don't know what that is.
Right.
And it hit me that you do need more role models to these people, especially if they're taking the children out of your lives or whatever. But yeah, so that hit me pretty hard. And the other one, when I was at this CLE class, this lawyer, I was talking to him about this whole, family court stuff. And he goes, I scored really high in all my classes and whatever. And I got out of court. I made the briefs. I studied. I went into my cases. He was like, I got my butt kicked. He was like, because when you go in there, they're not playing by the rules. They're throwing all these things in. And then he said, I learned what they did. And now we're playing a totally different game that's not even by the law. And so all these people learn to win dirty. And then all of a sudden, before you do it, everybody's playing dirty. And this is what we're having right now. And this is why we're having to amend these laws, because if you would tell your person you're going to get in trouble for perjury, do not lie, that never would be happening. If you told them, do not hijack that kid for the weekend because you're going to end up in jail and I'm going to drop you as a client, that would not be happening. They're the first people that should do the right thing. And their oath, I think, says it, but they're not doing it.
So before we go to final thoughts, we do have a question from Colorado Whistleblower. He says, were you eventually reunited with your children, and how long were you separated?
Yeah, so, I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to tell you about how to break parental alienation. Yes, I had been always taken away from them, but I always opted for supervision. I'm like, you know what? You want to take them away? Fine. I'll take 8 hours a day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think it was 125 an hour, somewhere around there. And it got expensive very quick, but I was like, you're not going to break my bond with my kids. Now, I did learn from spending all that money that it's not the amount of time, it's the frequency of time. So even if you opt for an hour of supervision every other week or whatever else, at least rather than a big chunk of time, especially if you're having to pay for it, if that's all you can afford, it's the frequency of time that breaks the parental alienation, not the amount of time. And so do smaller 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, whatever it is. That 30 minutes is better than taking an 8-hour slot and not seeing them for a while. So do those. The other thing is, the biggest time that I got was about, I think it was 3 months that I was away from them. They did come back alienated. And so I ended up taking them, but I've had all this time when they were younger to make these memories and stuff. So I took them to the zoo, and before we left the zoo, they were hanging on my shoulder, or one was on my back, like sitting on my back. The other one was hanging on my arms. Because when we walked in there, it was like, oh, Dad, don't you remember this? Don't you remember that? The alienation rewrote over, their own memories rewrote over the alienation. And so if you had time to do this with your children, take them to the places that you already had good memories at.
I wanted to ask one question. I can't remember. Did you wanted to touch on something else? Did you already do that?
I think so.
The question was, were you eventually reunited, and then how long were you separated?
Well, you want to talk about also fixing the parental alienation. And, I know a number of members in here that, have went down a dark path, have been alienated for a while. I mean, I'll mention Chuck's name, someone. How do you deal with, when you're going through that period of time, what did you do to get to see the light of the new day?
I mean, even you saying that, and thinking about, it takes me back there again too, but
yeah,
ice cream, I love Bluebell ice cream. And at like 3 a.m. when the anxiety hits, because I know if you've had your kids away, you know that you wake up and you have that acidy taste in your mouth, you have panic, a scoop of ice cream is amazing at night. And try that, and try chocolate. And I know this sounds crazy if you've never gone through it. The other thing to do is if you're laying in bed and you're thinking about all this stuff and you can't sleep and your chest tight, whatever, you can actually put your arm above your head, kind of like you're doing sit-ups or something, but while you're laying down. Yep. And while you're laying down, for some reason, it opens up your chest, your breathing, and the anxiety goes away. And I'm telling you this because unless you've been through it, you don't know. This stuff, you're going to be like, holy crap, he was right. But those couple of things will kind of help you get it. So, or get through that night or whatever.
Well, we're not being endorsed by Bluebell or any other ice cream company. I just want to throw it out there. Although we're open to taking endorsements. I mean,
we are open to taking Bluebell's money. Yes, we are.
Yes.
But hey guys, look who decided to show their face. Good friend of the show, Joseph Villarreal. Joe, we just got done showing your good-looking mug on a video. You missed it, dude. Like what, 15 minutes ago? Joe was on a video that we played. And Joe also condones that Bluebell is the best ice cream.
Yeah. Yes. All you advocates have to get together. If you're in your states, you can go into the Dad Talk Today support group and say, hey, I'm from Wisconsin, whatever, and who's in here? And other people will say, okay, you need to connect with this person, that person. That's why in Texas, we're such a strong group, is because we all reached out to each other. We all know each other. And we're here. So I'm going to be flying out to Jeff Younger's case. I'll be out there with him when he goes to trial here in a day or two.
Cool. We got Jimmy B, a big advocate of the show, coming through with the super chat. Appreciate it. $50.89. We're not going to explain to Robert what the 89 cents are. We'll probably shock him and he'll never come back. But we know what it is, Jeremy. We appreciate your donations. Robert or Dwayne, do you guys have anything else that you guys want to add before we go to final thoughts?
If you'll just come to my page, follow me on Facebook. I come up with quotes. Also the legislation stuff. I can explain it to you, or if you want to explain it and you're having problems with interference with child custody, you can I made like a 30-second video that you can show the officer to show what those steps are, that it is a criminal matter as well as a civil matter. And so a lot of them don't understand it. I mean, I literally had to explain it to a sheriff one time on how this works.
Yeah. My thing is, go to Garza's social media and follow, share, whatever youngins call it nowadays. Go to Dad Talk Today. Go to Jeff Younger's page, because as you can see, there was a lot of political legislative movement going on. And again, this is common sense. When Robert goes to the Capitol or goes and speaks with Dr. Phil, whoever it is, what's the first thing they're going to do? What do? You go out there to their social media. How many followers does he have? Should I even care what he has to say? And they go, oh my gosh, he's got 1 million followers. I better listen to what he has to say, because Robert, not that he's going to do that, but he comes on and says, so-and-so bad person, or we need to do this. They know that, these people can get things done and get the word out there. And, if you're there and if you can, donate, great. If you can't, share, subscribe, become a follower of Garza, of the Big Show, Jeff Younger, and legislators and different people are going to start seeing that and go, we need to start listening to these guys. And, I talked about this on the show with Jeff Younger a while back, is, we need certain ones to get behind. I would say Jeff Younger's is definitely one, in family court. Robert Garza's is definitely another one to get behind. And we just need to get everyone together and moving forward. I mean, it's more of I'm more of getting on my soapbox, but more of a whine.
It's the same laws. It's the same laws that need to be changed in every state. And it's the same problems that everyone's having in the same state. They're not prosecuting for perjury, and we need cameras in the courtroom. Those two things alone would solve a lot of these issues. If they would just prosecute for perjury, I never would have had to gone through, or my kids never would have had to gone through this. It's a state jail felony right now. They just don't prosecute for it. So what had to happen? You have to take it out of their hands and put it in the hands of, that there is no discretion, or that you give it to someone else. If the DA is not going to prosecute for interference with child custody, give it to the cops that are already out there. Let them write the ticket and be done. That way, nobody has to deal with it. It's done.
Yeah, go to Texans for.
Yeah, the threat of the belt. Yeah, if you threaten a kid with a belt, and put it right there, they're not going to do whatever they're doing. So it's the threat of the $500 fine. I wish even if when this law goes through, it will. I would hope that nobody has a fine and that it just makes people do the right thing. You already have a court order. Just follow directions.
Well, common sense here. The speed limits. Why do you follow the speed limit? Knowing the cars that you drive, Robert.
None of those are mine. I do classic. Yeah, I do classic cars, and we
test drive them.
People they need them fixed, so they're like, okay, here's my sports car. It's crazy how much money people have that they're like, here's the car, fix this, do that, whatever. And so anyway,
well, it's the thing. The speed limit thing, though, is why do you drive 55 in a 55? Why do you drive 30 in a 30? Because you don't want the ticket.
Yeah, and you want to keep yourself safe and the people around you safe.
Right. Exactly. So
it prevents bad things from happening.
Exactly. It's accountability. If you're going to do it and you get caught, you're going to be in trouble.
Exactly.
The same thing right now. There's rules in place, but they're not enforcing them. So it's rampant in the wild, wild west. So we need to rein that back in. And as soon as we start having new people give that accountability, then take out the excuses that they're doing by saying, well, it was only 48 hours. We don't want to give them a state jail felony. So now you have a law that shows that there is a track record. Here's the first time. Here's the second time. Bam. There's the third. Do it.
Makes perfect sense. Well, on behalf of everybody, Robert, all the guys out there are going through what you had to go through. We do, it's just awful that you had to go through it, and we are very sorry. But I'm a firm believer that God, puts his best warriors in the worst fights. And I think that, unfortunately, we hate to hear that you had to go through that, but you are making a very big impact and a footprint on this world. And, on behalf of everybody, we do thank you for all that you've done and all that you plan on doing. Even you, Dwayne, I mean, you've done a lot yourself. If anyone's having troubles, again, follow Robert Garza on Facebook. Don't forget to download the Pissed Off Parent app. There's a lot of there's tons of great information that can help you, that can benefit you. It's all free. Dwayne's put hundreds of hours. I know the kind of work this man has put into it just to help, him to, he's helping you guys in any way that he can. And he's, giving and sharing, and he's done all this research so that way you guys don't have to. It's all on one hub. So be sure to check out pissedoffparent.com or download the Pissed Off Parent app. It's on Android and Apple. But Robert, we really thank you for being a part of the big show today. It's great to have you. And let's go to final thoughts. So it's no surprise that the family court system has to change. We need to protect the rights of fathers and ensure that children have a healthy, loving relationship with both parents. Parental alienation is a real issue, and it's time that we address it head on. We need more brave fathers like Robert Garza to stand up and help join the fight for fathers' rights. The divorce machine is a real thing, guys, and it's ruining society by keeping fathers from instilling good morals and values into our children. If nothing else, to simply give them the love that only a father can give them. So to all our listeners, if you're fighting this battle, stay strong. Change is possible, and your voice does matter. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today for today's episode of The Big Show, hosted by me, Jimmy Smith. On behalf of my co-host, Dwayne Ward, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Special thank you to Robert Garza for coming on the show today. You guys keep pushing to be the best versions of yourself, and we'll see you guys here on Dad Talk Today channel and The Big Show by Jimmy Smith channel next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Until then, you guys have a great weekend. We will see you soon.
Turn your pain into